morning. The profound and wondrous experience of awe and wonder is often connected with a sense of fear, confusion, uncertainty. We become disoriented. I thought of this when I read a couple of the stories, which we'll get to later for this week. But as I thought more about those experiences of awe and wonder and the connection with fear, it became true to me. I remember the first time I held our children as tiny, vulnerable babies, delicate and fragile, so I felt. I stared into their face and beheld this miracle of life. Despite all the biology and science I knew and had studied, this was a miracle of life, something I couldn't comprehend or explain or fully understand. That life existed, this tiny human being. I knew that something of me was in both my daughter and my son, but it was deeply profound. And as I held our children, I felt a sense of fear, uncertainty, humility, of being out of control. That this miracle of life, this sacred, holy, tiny baby, was a human being that had its own life and being, and the awesome responsibility I had to care for, to nurture, protect. And me being ignorant, naive, I didn't know what to do. And as I held particularly our daughter for the first time, our eldest, I held her so gently and carefully, afraid that I might hurt her or she'd break. I soon discovered the resilience and the toughness of babies. But that sense of awe and wonder was filled with confusion and a sense of fear and uncertainty, of the awesomeness of responsibility and wonder. And as I've conducted weddings, I've looked into the eyes of the two people being married. Particularly as they say vows, I do. I will love you and stand by you, whatever life has to offer. This sense of commitment, the sense of awe and wonder, but also overwhelming uncertainty, even confusion, fear. What are we doing? This act of deep and profound intimacy, of giving oneself to the other in the deepest, most profound way. Of opening our ego boundary to embrace another person, allowing them in to our deeply intimate space. There's a sense of fear and uncertainty. And even as I celebrate weddings and remember my own experiences of awe and wonder in that day, these experiences of awe and wonder, of encountering the sacred, the holy, that which is completely beyond us, other, is humbling. And maybe that's part of it, that this sense of awe and wonder, like the experience of deep love, and in a different way, deep suffering, opens us up in a way that makes us humble, vulnerable, before this other, this thing we can't explain, we can't control. We lose our sense of control, our sense of understanding the world and defining the world and knowing what's going to happen. We can't control anything. We're lost. And we have to surrender to life and to the otherness of life that's around us. In the stories this week, one is a very ancient story of the prophet Isaiah and his call into being a prophet. It's a profound story of a vision. It could be a sci-fi, otherworldly vision. He's in this heavenly realm, and there's these flying winged creatures, these heavenly creatures. There's the fire in the midst and the throne, and on glowing is God. The whole sense is deeply and profoundly awesome and holy and wondrous, otherworldly, beyond comprehension. And as he's drawn into this scene, he sees himself and suddenly realizes his unworthiness. And he says, "Woe is I! I'm a man of unclean lips. I'm a sinner." And by that he doesn't mean he's a bad guy that's done all these things wrong. Sin is the distance. I am so far from this. This is other. This is beyond my experience, beyond who I am. I am this simple one. I don't belong here. This is too profound. This is too great. This is too holy for me. It'll ruin me, or I'll ruin it. And then a winged creature flies down, grabs a coal and touches his lips and cleanses. And he experiences grace. And in this vision he experiences grace, and he is called into this way. When the voice of God says, "I need someone to go and take my word to my people. Who will I send?" Isaiah in this vision says, "Send me, send me." He's filled with that grace and responds. And he'll need every ounce of that grace, because the words he's asked to give the people are harsh words, difficult words, words of critique, words that confront them with who they are and call them back to a different way. And in the other story, the story that Luke tells, it's really the story of Simon who becomes Peter. It's a story of Jesus on the seashore around the Lake of Galilee, and people are gathered around, coming in mobs to listen to him. And there's two fishermen, or two fishing boats on the beach, and the fishermen are washing their nets. They've had a long night of fishing and caught nothing, and they're cleaning their nets, tremel nets, which are linen nets, which are used at night time. The fish can't see the linen and they can catch them. And they're washing them, and Jesus walks over and says to Simon, "Can you take me out in the boat a little way so I can teach?" And Simon, I guess his colleague, partner, takes Jesus out. And Jesus teaches, and he's there listening as Jesus teaches the crowd. When he's finished, he says, "Push out further, out into the deep water, go much deeper." And he goes out. And then he says to them, "Cast your nets over the side." And Simon says, "But you're obviously no fisherman. Look, we've been fishing here all night. We haven't caught anything. And besides, we're using these nets which you can't use in the daytime. Humour me, just throw your nets out." And they do. And as they throw them out, they gather in so many fish that they call for their colleagues on the other boat to come and help them. And both boats are so full of fish, they're in danger of sinking. And in that moment, Peter, or Simon, who becomes Peter, is filled with awe and wonder. He knows he's in the presence of wonder, of awe. He knows he's in the presence of the sacred and the holy. This is a wondrous miracle that he can't explain. But it's not just what happens with the fish. It's this one he's in the presence of. And he's filled with fear. Whoa, go away, leave me. I'm not worthy of this. Again, I'm a sinner. There's too much distance between you and me. You are godly and I'm me. I'm just a humble, ordinary fisherman. Mate, go away. But Jesus says to him, "Simon Peter, you think this is wonderful? You've been fishing for fish. Follow me and I'll teach you how to catch people alive." It's often translated as "I'll teach you how to catch people," but the fishing image doesn't quite work, and the Greek is more subtle. I will teach you to catch people alive. Maybe people who need life, filled with life and wonder. Just as you have been filled with this grace and this wonder, so follow me and you will know the way of life and you'll share it with others. And Peter follows. But the path ahead, as for Isaiah, is not straightforward and simple. There's ups and downs. He gets so much wrong and other things right. He does well and then he fails. And in the end of the story, or near the end of the story, he denies Jesus. he loses it totally, only to be drawn into a deeper grace. Simon Peter, go and feed my lambs. Go and serve my world. Go and care for my people. Go and live. You are forgiven. And this is the way of wonder and grace. And I think when we stand in the presence of awe and wonder, of the sacred and the holy in our lives, we need to stop and allow ourselves to be filled with that fear and uncertainty and confusion. Because often it means we'll lose some sense of control or definition of life. And we're invited to confess that we are not God. And we are in the presence of sacredness and holiness. And to surrender ourselves into it. And to allow ourselves into the flow of life and love and hope that is God, that is Spirit. All around us, every day, there are the miracles and wonders of life. If we will open our ears and our eyes and listen and see, our hearts to experience, to be filled with wonder, with the stars in the sky, the sun and the moon, the flowers that grow and just burst out into life. The trees are filled with wonder and beauty and bring shade and shelter. Of the animals that share our lives and fill our world with wonder and hold the world together in all the different ecosystems. Of the life we have, filled with the joy and the wonder of people, the miracle of new life and babies, the wonder of living and being, and the sadness but the wholeness of death. Life is a gift, filled with sacred and holy moments, filled with the grace of God. Will we be open to that? Will we allow ourselves to confess the wonder, the grace of God and surrender into it to find the life that God offers?